Backstage after the Jackson's MMA series with Josh Moreno, successful, victorious in the main event. How you feeling?
Feeling fantastic, man. Things couldn't have gone better. I feel that I could have followed the game plan a little bit more in the first round after the first couple leg kicks. I knew I had him, but like I said, he's Mexican just like me. He had heart, so I knew he was going to be in there to fight.
Outside, inside, and then we also saw you with the side kick to the knee. It looked like you went through all the techniques that you learned, and you were at times doing a good job of working that front leg.
Yeah, it was just like my striking coach Frank Lester. He really asked me to capitalize on that. That's what we worked on mids. That's what we worked all camp long. So yeah, like I said, if I would have followed the game plan a little bit more in the first round, I think I could have had him out of there in the first round.
I even said it, if Omar had a chance, it was going to be to submit you. So he was in on that takedown, and he was trying to get it. That was the game plan. There was a little bit of fake to strike. But
normally that happens when my opponents face me. That's normally what happens when they feel the first couple strikes from me. They always want to get it to the ground for some reason.
Were you almost? There was almost a look of a shock when you were able to throw him to the ground with the Kimura defense. How effortlessly.
Yes, thank you. It's all due to really a big credit out to my grappling coach, Harry St. Ledger, black belt jiu-jitsu, judo master. There he goes right there, judo master. Yeah, he's a man. I've been working. I've been working with him for the past few months. He's been working with my ground game at all this time. Ever since I was getting ready for Sonny Young, he's been working with me, and he's just really been improving my ground game. From basic to now, like that I'm find myself in positions where I'm, I don't even notice that I almost have the guy in a submission, and I heard them say like, you got the Kimura or you got the arm triangle, finish it, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I don't know nothing about this. I just want to punch him in the face. But it's all credit due to my ground game, my ground coach Harry St. Ledger.
In that ground exchange, Omar started to try to get a little crafty on the bottom, so you stood up, you worked the leg kicks, and then we heard the call from the corner, go for the axe kick to the belly. And were you surprised that you hit him right in the nuts?
Yeah, I mean, nobody. I don't have those intentions. You followed my fights all this time, and I'm never that type of dirty fighter. It might have come out like that, but I really didn't. I really didn't mean it for it to land there. It's just I saw an opening and I kind of took it, but that's what happens in this game. Sometimes you throw something and it lands in the improper place, and what can you do about it? Either you can lay on the ground and not get up, or you can do what Omar did, and he stepped up and he took his time, but he got back up and he was in the fight again.
You had the momentum at that point when you land that kick and time has to be stopped. You think to yourself, shit.
And there was a glimpse where I was like, man, he didn't get up, and I'm like, man, this is it. They're gonna. I kind of found my place. In Nick Ursel's fight against Jordan Espinoza, where that for whatever reason they called it a no contest, and I'm like, oh great, I don't want to have this feeling, I don't want to be in this situation. But like I said, Omar, he's a crafty guy, he's a warrior, and he got back up. But I always want to give the crowd what they want to see, what they pay for is a fight, and I actually, like you said, the momentum was there, the time was stopped, and at the time I was like, man, I could have finished it right here, but then the time stopped. But I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's give a little bit more entertainment for the fans.
I heard the pop. I honestly, the sound, the connection, I thought, no contest. This is over. I don't know if he can get back up. Major props to Omar just for getting back up. I don't know how many guys do that.
Yeah, definitely.
After that,
I mean, then again though, like your boy did need me in the nuts in the first round.
You guys are 1 for 1 on that. That is totally even.
He needed me in the nuts, but like I said, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean it. Like I didn't mean it. It's like it comes with the territory. Some shots are landed in the improper place, and what can you do? But do what me and Omar did. We got back up and we gave it a fight.
And then you were able to turn him around against the cage, and that's when you opened up with your strikes. You were going with the hooks to the head, then you were trying to follow up with the knees. It looked like, to his credit, he was doing a good job of deflecting the knees off of his arms. And then, to your credit of your fight IQ, you changed it up and you started digging those right hooks to the body, and that's what really finished him.
Right, yeah, I said, Harry St. Ledger had a lot to do with that. He just said, keep your composure, all the technique, all the ground game, all the, the grappling that we're working on. You evolve so much, and that's what I did. I don't know if you noticed, but I was really calm when he had me up against the cage. I was really calm, and no moment did I, just say, screw this. He's gonna take my back, or he's gonna get me to the ground. At no point I was in desperate mode. I knew what I was doing. I was following the instructions of my cornerman, and that's what got me the victory.
And now the thought is 170.
Yes, definitely. I got a little muffin top going on. I ain't gonna lie. But I still pull it off. I still look kind of good. But if for some reason these guys, you've been there, these guys from 185 to 205, they're huge. Omar's a big guy for 185, but he does have little ass legs, which I took advantage of. So 170, I plan to move to 170 to see how that feels like. But I'm gonna take my time. I don't want to rush things. This is gonna be my 5th fight in less than a year. So I'm gonna take my time, drop the weight down, properly, and get back to work.
Last message for the fans.
Thank you so much for the fans and for everybody that came out and saw this amazing show, Jackson's MMA Series 21. I really appreciate you guys, the love, the support you guys are giving me, and even the new fans that came out and watched. I had no idea who I was, and they came and supported their fighters. I'm really glad that they came and saw my performance. So hope to see you guys again and a better performance.
Thank you for the time and congratulations on the win.
Thank you, Michael.